Hi everyone, Comic Book Reviewer here. This time reviewing on All New Ghost Rider issue number 3. Now, as you know, managed to pick up some of the issues of All New Ghost Rider, and we'll try to cover the series. And the cover mainly has Mr. Hyde holding down the new Ghost Rider while splaying out a fiery fire breath while dealing with pink pills. And the story starts off with Robbie Reyes talking to his car, who says, "You ask me what I am, Robbie, but the real question is, what are we?" And we see how the spirit of the car is named Eli and wants to help him get even with the people who killed him. And of course, we see how he promises to help him with his problems, saying, "I want to help you, kid. I want to give you the power to fight back against the gangs, the bullies, the parents that abandoned you, to raise your kid brother on your own. Let me give you the power." "How are you going to do that?" "I'll tell you how. We are going to do that, Robbie, together. You, me, this beautiful black car." And we see how he kind of ends up asking him, "How do you know that I can trust you?" And we see how they end up getting bonded, and of course they end up kind of going through with their power. And of course we see how the mercenaries let Mr. Hyde know they've managed to trace back where to find the car with the drugs. And we see how Mr. Hyde points out that he has been trying to form his own gang in LA, but because of New York being a bit more tighter and the problems getting worse, they can't really take any more of it. And we see how he shrinks back and says, "Temper, temper, my brute brother. Once my directive formula is off the street, and we build our formidable army." And of course we see how at the pawn shop, Robbie tries to get a new wheelchair, which the two guys try to ask for a lot more money, and we see how they manage to leave off and saying, "Let's go, Cabe." No chair, Robbie?" And of course he points out that he could ask the police to get it back, which of course is a bit of a dumb thing to kind of do. And we see how Robbie's substitute teacher has a word with him, and we see how he is pleased with his grades and progress, and he even talks about the sort of garage shop that he could, put in a good word for him to have his window repaired. And of course we see how at the auto shop that Canleo, his boss, has been badly injured and tries to call 911, and we see how Robbie wonders where the car is. Turns out Grumpy now has it, and turns out the three guys are now badly injured, and we see how Mr. Hyde's mercenaries show up at Grumpy's house, basically throw a chair through and try to basically gun them down. And we see how, some of the guys end up getting gunned. We see how Grumpy tries to get the pink pills and ends up kind of becoming a more Mr. Hyde himself. And we see how Robbie ends up becoming Ghost Rider to look for the car. And we see how the medical team end up helping Clenio. And we see how how Grumpy and his henchmen try to kind of get him back to the hospital to save him in time. But of course, we see how Robbie Reyes as Ghost Rider ends up kind of finding the car. And of course, we see how the guys wondered that, the guy they beat up had no knowledge of the car being stolen or the kid. But we see how Robbie becomes Ghost Rider, picks up the two henchmen who say, "Rah, gah!" and throws one up in the air and beats the other to death. And of course, kicks one knee in the face. And we see how the two henchmen end up getting thrown down, and we see how Grumpy ends up kind of becoming a Mr. Hyde again, saying, "I'm gonna you up." And this is the story. So I think to me, issue 3 is kind of okay. Like I said, it's slowly building up a story, and we kind of see how, yeah, it's got the typical origin tropes, where a character ends up getting abilities, you know there's going to be a catch to the premise, and you know the character's going to end up doing something stupid that's going to come with repercussions. But it's still an okay issue. So I think it still deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.